There is a tremendous variability of soils in the world. There are quite a few different types of soils, and to understand why these soils are there and how they were formed, it's crucial to know the relationship with the landscape. And there are a number of factors that are very important here in defining that relationship. First of all, it's the parent material from which the soils are formed that occur in different parts of the landscape. That can be rock, hard rock, it can be sediments, sedimented by air, sedimented by water, it can be sea, it can be rivers, and so on and so forth. And all these different materials that occur in different parts of the landscape lead to different types of soils. The second thing is the climate. Water is a very important factor, but so is temperature. I often say soil without water is like a man without blood. So it's nothing, it's dead, it's sterile. A third element is vegetation. That can be a rich vegetation on the richer soils, a poorer vegetation on other soils, forest, non-forest, so on and so forth, has a big effect on the soils that are being formed. Another factor, very important, is time. We have soils in the world, for example, in Australia and also in Central Africa that are 1 billion years old. There are other soils, like in Holland, that are only a few decades old. They have been deposited by the sea. What is very fascinating is to see the geological cycles of mountains being formed, being eroded, washing away to the sea, through the rivers. The sea deposits again the materials, and soils are formed. It's a highly dynamic system, and it's fascinating to study that particular type of thing. And the last factor is man. Man has a tremendous impact on the landscape and on the soil. When you look at the Netherlands, you cannot find a single soil that has not been influenced by man, for example. Looking at the whole picture, it's quite clear that various soils we find are very much determined by the kind of landscapes in which they occurred and in which all these factors we have briefly discussed play an important role. So we've talked now about the relationship between soils and landscapes, very important, but it's more important to see how these relationships and the knowledge we gain from that, what contribution they can make to the big environmental issues that are right now being distinguished in the world. There are several international reports, strategic reports about that. Items like food security, fresh water availability, climate change, biodiversity loss, and energy security. I like to refer to those as the big five. Like in South Africa, they are dangerous and they bite. So what can be our contribution? It's quite clear that soil is a key item in solving these problems. No soil, no food. No soil, only biodiversity in the oceans. It's the same true for energy security, growing energy crops, and so on and so forth. We have to see what the possibilities of soils are to contribute to solving those particular issues. And there's one thing that we have to be aware of, that sometimes you read about the importance of soils in general, as if this is one single item. Well, what we have learned is that every type of soil has a story to tell and has particular potentials, has possibilities, has limitations, and it's our challenge to find out how we can use those potentials to contribute to solving these big issues. Now, I've mentioned these 5 issues, but recently I find that very intriguing. There are 10 sustainable development goals defined by the Rio +20 conference that are adopted now by the United Nations. And those 5 issues come back again, the big 5 come back again, but also it is put into a socio-economic context. And I think it's very important for soil science to use their expertise to try to make a contribution to solving those major sustainable development goals that have been defined.